somewhere in Brahma Sutras, in the 4th Adhyaya, it is said how there is no abhavam. Bhagavan says how there is no abhavam. Abhavam is only in thinking, not in anubhava. In anubhava there is no abhava. There is no absence in our experience. Having seen the pot, then we imagine its absence. So somewhere in the 4th Adhyaya, Bhagavan says, to understand how there is no abhava, refer to Brihadaranyaka Bhashyam, he says. You understand? Refer to Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, 1st Adhyaya, which we are doing now. What elaborate. Yes. If abhava is a kalpana, my prior abhava, my post abhava is all what? Kalpana. Whereas bhava is anubhava. Bhava is anubhava. You can't experience absence. Anything that is experienced is presence. The experiencer also is presence. The experiencer not only experiences the universe, but the experiencer experiences his own existence. Swataha anubhava siddham it is. The universe is anubhava vishayam, Atma is anubhava rupam. इसको पकड़ लेना. The universe is anubhava vishayam. Universe is anubhava vishayam, whereas Atma is anubhava rupam. When the fire burns leaves, the leaves are the vishaya of the fire, whereas the heat is the swarupa of the fire. To be hot is its nature, not its vishaya. Whereas the leaves are burnt, the burner is the subject. And the fire का विषय क्या है? Trina, parna, grass and leaves. There is a vishaya. Prakasha is the swarupa of the sun, and forms are prakasha, vishaya. So discern between swarupa and vishaya. Universe is the vishaya of anubhava. The universe is the vishaya of the subject. It is the vishaya of the anubhava. Vishaya of the anubhava. Vishaya of the anubhava. Whereas Atma, it is this anubhava swarupa, anubhava rupa, anubhava swarupa. Dry leaves and grass are the vishaya of the heat, whereas fire is heat swarupa. Heat is its swarupa. It has no other identity than to be hot. Like that. Our existence has no identity other than being anubhava, experience. I am there, even though we call ourselves experiencer, but experiencer itself is also experienced without a division. Experiencer experiences his own existence without division. No division. Not that experience has been placed a double role of experiencer and the experienced. We call that way. Thus, absence can never be either Anubhava Vishaya or Anubhava Rupa. It is Kalpana. It's Kalpana. We experience objects all right. It is purely Kalpana. Abhava is a Kalpana. I can't experience. I can experience a pot, but I can't experience absence. Even when I say pot's prior absence, I should first refer to its presence. Without referring to the presence, you can't refer to absence. Therefore, the absence of something is linked to the presence. This is the essence that you have to capture. All the other details, mind-boggling details you forget. The essence you have to remember is, any reference to the absence of something is possible only when there is reference to its presence. Reference to presence is an experience, whereas the reference to its absence is a notion, it's a kalpana. It's an error. Evam, in this manner, let us now move. Ghatasya prag pradvamsa atyanta abhavanam api ghatad anyatvam syat. Just as the mutual absence is kalpana, ghata, like you see, ghata is not pata, pata is not ghata. This is called mutual absence. A cow is not a horse and a horse is not a cow. This is called mutual absence. But actually mutual absence is a kalpana. But actually what is there is, instead of saying cow is a non-horse, is it absence of horse or presence of a cow? What is a cow? Presence of a cow or absence of a horse? Presence of a cow. First it is a presence of a cow, then I imagine it as a non-horse. This is called when a person becomes too intellectual. Speculators, then they say, instead of calling a cow, he calls a cow non-horse. Instead of calling a horse, he calls it a non-cow. Calls a man a non-animal and calls an animal a non-human. This is called peaking in intellectualism. Here Bhashyakara says this is all imagination, nothing. Therefore, imagination, absence is an imagination, presence is experience. Ye pakad lijiye. If you can capture this sentence and dwell on it, you will get prasadam. Absence has no existence except as kalpana, whereas presence is anubhava, experience. That is why when the thought resolves, absence also resolves. Because thought exists only, absence is there only in the form of thought. That's why when man goes to sleep, he transcends thought. Therefore he transcends the fear of death. Why? Because there is no thought of the prospect of absence. The idea of later absence is gone. The idea of the prior absence is gone. Then what remains is only presence. Because presence doesn't depend upon thought. Presence doesn't depend upon thought. Even the objects, even though we call them present, they are relatively present, conditionally present. They are not presence, they are Vishaya of the presence. Anyway, this much you capture. Absence is a thought, presence is an experience. You capture this phrase, is enough. And whenever you go for a walk, just remember this one phrase. It can make your walk pleasant. Absence is a thought. Absence has no existence except in the form of thought. Absence is always imagined. Absence is imagined. I don't mind using that word. It's an error actually. But absence is imagined. Presence is experienced. It is experience. Our existence is in the form of presence. Our existence is not in the form of absence. I am not, you can't feel. You can't feel I am not. You can't experience I am not. Thus, evam ghatasya prak pradvamsa atyanta abhavanamapi ghatad anyatvam syat. Just as mutual absence is an imagination, similarly, prior absence, post absence and total absence also is an imagination. It is something other than the presence. Meaning it is not the swarupam of the pot. Pot's prior absence, pot's post absence, pot's mutual absence, pot's total absence, which the logicians think of, is not the nature of the pot. The nature of the pot is that it is. That is its nature. You can't define pot as something it was not. Something that was not is not its definition. Something that it will not be, something that will not be is not its definition. Something that it's absent in other objects, it's not its definition. Pot is something that is totally not, that's not its definition. The definition of the pot is, it always is, either manifest or unmanifest. That's its definition. That is the only definition, that's the Vedic definition. Even this universe always is, either as manifest or unmanifest. But you don't come across its absence. And if you probe into the universe, again you discover the presence, it's that which is now manifestly present and now unmanifestly present is present as its own source, Brahma. We trace it to the presence of Brahma. But we never encounter its absence. We are only moving from the manifest presence to the unmanifest presence. Unmanifest presence, manifest presence is traced to the unmanifest presence, and both are traced to the eternal presence. Presence to presence. There is no place for absence. Is it a part of Western philosophy? Chennai Shabda Praman, Ishvara's vision of the truth. Thus, next sentence ji, Ghatena vyapadishyamanatvat Ghatasya itaretara bhavavat. All the four kinds of absence are referred to by way of referring to the presence of the pot. We say pot's prior absence, pot's later absence, pot's mutual absence, pot's total absence. Without referring to that pot, you can't talk about the absence. Therefore, that absence is the reference to the absence presupposes the reference to the present. Therefore, that presence is the truth. That is the experience. Ghatena Vyapadishyamanatvat, because all kinds of absence is Vyapadesha means reference. All kinds of absence are referred to through the presence of the pot. Ghatasya itaretara bhavavat. So thaiva, similarly, bhavatmakata abhavanam. Tathaiva bhavatmakata abhavanam. Therefore, what we call the prior absence of the pot is nothing but the presence of the pot. This is how we go on equating, making equations. The prior absence of the pot is equal to the presence of the pot. Post absence of the pot, meaning the absence of the presence of the pot. Presence of the pot. Mutual absence of the pot means presence of the pot. Total absence of the pot, presence of the pot. And what is presence of the pot? Either manifest or unmanifest. Presence. Presence is not alternating. Presence is not something, is alternated by its own absence. No. Presence cannot be. Once we say an object is present, now it is either present or unmanifestly present. It doesn't become absent. There is no room for absence. Therefore, Shunyavadi is wrong, however much language he may use, however many books they may use, but it's all wrong. If you want me to give an example, Mirage water is vast, but it is false. Mirage, so expansive, but it is false. Similarly, this Shunyavada is a huge literature. Nobody knows it. Only Vedantis refer to some of the books written by, like Nagarjuna, etc. But it is false because you can't prove absence. Thus, tathaiva bhavatmakata. If you go on dwelling on this point, there is no place for, absence is never an experience. Absence, there is no such a thing called absence. Discovering there is no absence liberates one from the fear of death. Fear of death means fear of absence. Abhi mai hu, later on nahi rahunga ityadi. You say, nobody experiences. When a person dies, he doesn't become absent. In fact, he transcends the thought of absence. That very thought, the fear of absence, dies. The fear of absence dies. When a person dies, person doesn't die. The fear of later absence, which is a thought dies. It resolves. Becomes unmanifest. Yes. Muhuti, it is available to be understood, but one has to sit down and think really what actually happens when man goes to sleep. It's not something, you can't go beyond thought. You can't go beyond thought. You can only go beyond thought. You can transcend thought. Uski baat kya hai? In addition to the thought, there is nothing to be transcended. Therefore, you don't have to fear absence because there is no such a thing called absence. But one may say, Swamiji, even though the absence is not there, but everybody feels it, that is a kalpana. If it is not an experience and still if it is felt, then what is it? Kalpana. Aur kya hai? What else is it? Kalpana. Error in thinking. It is not one of the details of experience, but it is an error in thinking, a distortion in thinking. Okay, next paragraph, let us move just another few lines, then it will be over. We will be concluding this vichara. All that we have to conclude is, what is present is never absent. Bas itna hi hai. Therefore, if pot is ever present, either manifestly or unmanifestly, in the universe also is always present, either manifestly or unmanifestly, and plus the source. So where is the scope for the absence, vacuum, shunya? So according to the Purva-Pakshi, the Buddhi is, before the universe was born, there was nothing. That is what he wants us to believe. Before the universe was born, there was nothing. And out of emptiness came the universe. And therefore ultimately it will become emptiness. This is what he wants us to believe. Because we don't experience something coming out of emptiness. Even though your whole theology theory is coming from emptiness, dimag ki emptiness, but actually it is not totally empty, thoda bahut to hoga. Aur kya chahiye? Next line. Atha घटस्य प्रागभावः इति घटस्य यत् स्वरूपं तदेव उच्येत घटस्य इति व्यपदेशानुपपत्तिः. Very beautiful ji. The whole meaning is simple. I'll explain. If absence were the very nature of the pot, if it were true that pot is really absent, then you can't refer to it as pot. You can't make a positive reference to something which is totally absent. Tell me one thing which is totally absent. Then you just you patch it up. Man's horn. I imagine a man's horn because man is there. To imagine man's horn, I must have man and there must be horn. I bring them together. I call it man's horn. Yes. Rabbit's horn. How do you think of rabbit's horn? Because I can think of a rabbit. I can think of a horn and stitch them together. It's called patchwork. But if pot were totally non-existent, how do you refer to it? Pot is one word, it's not a patchwork. Man's horn is a patchwork. Rabbit's horn is a patchwork. Sky flower is a patchwork. I know the sky, I know the flower, I can bring it together. I know a man, I know the horn, I can bring them together. Rabbit I know, horn I know, I can bring them together. I can imagine a rabbit's horn. I can imagine man's horn. I can imagine a sky flower. I can imagine a Vandya Putra. A barren woman I know. I mean a woman who has not given birth to any child is called a Vandya. Putra I know, I have the knowledge of Putra. I can stitch them together. These are all really patchworks. But think of something which is totally absent without patchwork. You will be totally stranded. Can you think of something totally absent without a patchwork? Mind-boggling. Think of something which is totally absent without making it a patchwork. Then you can understand आप कितनी बड़ा सर्वज्ञ हैं. Then we can understand. Ji. What is impossible even for Bhagavan Ji. Therefore we don't have to feel inferior about it. Even Bhagavan, I told you, Bhagavan cannot commit suicide, whereas we can. So we are 1 inch above. See? And Bhagavan can't. What I am telling is, absence is always imagined as a patchwork. But really, without a patchwork, you can't even think of absence. Pot is not a patchwork. Now, pot is one word. If it were totally non-existent, you would not have had a word for it. You would not have made any reference. That means, to begin with, what is a presence? Therefore, it's not its swarupa. That is why here Bhashyakara says, if absence were the nature of the pot, if pot were indeed absent, there would not have been a possibility of making a reference to it. Atha, then, I am trying, to explain these difficult things as simple as possible. Atha kalpayitva vyapadishyeta. Supposing you are imagining the existence of the pot as, first we imagine the absent. Here, a Purvapakshi wants us to believe that even though pot is not there, you imagine it to be present. Having first imagined it to be present, then you are imagining its prior absence. So there are two imaginations. One imagination is that it is present. Another imagination is its prior absence. In answer to this, he says, Atha kalpayitva vyapadishyeta shilaputrakasya shariramiti yadvat. Hey Purvapakshi, if you were to say that pot is not actually present, you are imagining the presence of the pot, and over and above that imagination, you are imagining its prior absence and post-absence. So prior absence and post-absence is one imagination, and the basic imagination is that it is present. So presence is not experience, presence is another imagination. There are two imaginations. Like what? Very beautiful example he gives. Shilaputrakasya shariramiti yadvat. Shilaputraka. Shilaputraka means a statue made of a stone. A child of a rock. Shila means a rock. Putraka means born of it. Like Shiva's statue is born of a rock. Now that Putraka means, kind of a statue having a form. Like a human form. He is called Putraka, the child of the baby of a rock. Now that statue's body, when we say, is it not a double entry? Is it not a double reference? Statue itself includes body, but if we say its body, we say the statue's body, once we say, statue itself is a body, and a statue's body becomes a two imaginations. Even though this reference, even though I say the body of the statue, body of a statue, even it is a very uncalled for repetition. Statue implies body, but still I say the body of a statue. Both mean the same thing. The body of a statue and statue are the same thing. First pick up this one thought. Body of a statue and the statue are one and the same. Another example, Raho Shiravat. Rahoshiraha. Rahu ka sir. Say Rahu includes head. It becomes a punarukti. Rahoshiraha. Kind of a connection, sambandha, relationship. When you say my money, money is different from you. When you say my head, is it different from you? Sambandha is always between two things. A relationship connection is always between two things. My house, so my is different, house is different. I am different, house is different. Therefore I can say this is mine. ठीक है? अच्छी तरह से मैं समझाऊंगा, आप सुन लेना. इसमें कुछ प्रॉब्लम है. My money means money is different, I am different, but I can have a sambandha. It is mine. Can I say this is my head? Technically correct? No, I am more interested in being technically correct. Is it technically correct? My head is not technically correct, but yet we use that expression. Because if it is my head, then it should be separate from me. Like my money is separate from me, my house is separate from me. Similarly, my head, when I say, it should be separate from me, but it is not separate from me. Similarly, the statue's body, sambandha, relationship, ownership, ka. Statue ka sharir. Statue itself includes sharir. So now there is no distinct distinction between statue and the body. Even though there is no sambandha between statue and the body, in the same manner between the presence of the body and its absence, there is no real sambandha. Both are one and the same. Presence, the pot has prior absence, pot has later absence. In this manner, they are look like two things called presence and absence, but they are not two things. They are one and the same. Absence is the very nature of the pot. It has, if you can take one more step, if it is possible for you. Purvapakshi says, just as statue and its body are not separate, listen to it. Just as statue and its body are not separate, me and my head are not separate, pot and its prior absence and pot and its later absence are not separate. Therefore, pot means its absence. A very thinking Siddhanti can say, therefore, pot's absence means presence. Is it not? If you can reduce pot's absence, if you can reduce pot's presence to its absence, you can reduce its absence to its presence. Yes. Just as the statue's body, I am now concluding it. Just as the statue's body is not other than the statue, Rahu's head is not other than Rahu. Similarly, pot's absence is not other than the pot's presence. And according to Purvapakshi, therefore pot's presence is not other than pot's absence. Siddhanti says, therefore pot's absence is not other than pot's presence. Therefore, when you say prior absence of the pot means pot's presence. Post absence of the pot means presence of the pot. This argument has to be given here. Bhashyakara has given elaborately, there is no problem. But he has already given. You can refer to the presence without referring to the absence, but you can't refer to the absence without referring to the presence. Anvay Vitreka Nyaya lagaiye. You understand? There is Anvay Vitreka Nyaya. When absence is there, presence is there. When presence is there, there need not be absence. I can think of the presence without thinking of the absence, but I can't think of the absence without thinking of presence. Therefore, Absence is not parallel to the presence. Absence is a notion about the presence. Is it clear? Very deep writing it is all. We don't know. By God's grace we are able to really go through the line after line. Very, very, very beautiful. You can't think of the prior absence or post absence without the presence. Tathapi ghatasya pragabhavaha iti, Siddhanti says, ghatasya pragabhavaha iti kalpitasya eva abhavasya ghatena vyapadeshaha na ghat swarupata swarupasya eva. He repeats, Bhashyakara repeats, sir, what you say is true. Statue's body is not other than the statue. It's true that the Rahu's head is not other than Rahu. And it is also true that Pot's prior absence and Pot's later absence is not other than the Pot's presence. But I don't refer but understand one thing, I am not referring to Pot's presence through its absence, but I am referring to its absence through its presence. That means what? Its presence is unavoidable. To think of the presence, you need presence. To think of the absence, you need presence. Thus presence is anubhava. Absence is a notion. Therefore, loneliness also is a notion. Yes. It is better to get occupied with Vedanta Vichara. Anyway, you have already made a mistake of sending all your children to America. Swayami bata, jao jao. Don't miss the opportunity. People, parents also don't know. They just, pack them to America. Jao, tarakki ho jao. And afterwards, what is there? यहाँ पर तो 1000 साल जीना नहीं, बच्चों को अपने साथ रखना चाहिए. It's nice to have at least somewhere nearby. भारत के अंदर वो तो कम से कम कभी कभी आ सकती है. But anyway, I am not really advocating anything. What I am telling is loneliness, whatever be the reason behind loneliness, that has to be encountered, that has to be handled only through Vedanta Vichara. Nothing else can handle loneliness. Nothing has any capacity. It can be, in fact, everything else can, for a few days it is all right. Like, starting some music. ठीक है for a few days. When the teacher says, आपका बस का नहीं गया. बस आपका बस का नहीं. Or you go for play or this, that, होता नहीं. But अपने आप में जो कर सकते हैं वही रिलायबल है. कहीं जाके करना है मुश्किल है. शरीर की बल को प्रयोग करना है मुश्किल है. आराम से बैठ के जो कर सकते हैं वही रिलायबल है. Therefore, the easiest thing to do is just to get lost in one's own vichara. Vedanta vakyeshu sada ramanta viksharna matrena jatushta. Okay जी, मेरा विचार से तो वही है. अथ, last line of the paragraph, अर्थांतरम घटात घटस्य अभावहेति उक्तम उत्तरमेतत्. उक्त उत्तरमेतत्. And supposing you also accept, as I say, that the absence of the pot is not a part of the presence of the pot, it is a kalpana, then I say every kind of absence is kalpita. Not only prior absence, but also post absence, but also mutual absence, but also total absence. Raga bhava, pradvamsa bhava, anyonya bhava, atyanta bhava, any kind of abhava is a kalpana about the presence, but not a part of the presence. Neither it is a part of the presence, nor it is the meaning of the presence. It is a kalpana about the presence. I can feel, I can think of presence without thinking of the absence, but I can't think of the absence without thinking of the presence. It is something that liberates. You can't think of absence. You can't think of the absence of your friend now, let us say, without thinking of remembering his presence. But he was, but not now, you can't say. If he was, then he must be there in an unmanifest state. There is no question of any speculation. Because every creation must exist either as manifest or unmanifest. It is not a big thing. For Veda, it is all elementary thoughts, very, very primary school thoughts. For Veda, that you will have rebirth is a primary school thought. That is why that is there in Karma Kanda, not even in Vedanta. Vedanta में कहते हैं अब तो ब्रह्म वस्तु है, वो बड़ी बात कहती है. Karma Kanda itself says पुनर्जन्म तो है, because you don't become non-existent suddenly. किसी न किसी रूप में either you are inside the nest or come out of the nest. When you come out of the nest, that is called janma. When you go into the nest, it's called sharir chodna, sushupti. Next line, Hari Om, Kincha. Don't get tired, another few minutes. ये भी एक तपस्या है. अन्यत् प्रागुत्पत्तेः शश विषाणवत् अभावभूतस्य घटस्य स्वकारण सत्ता संबंध अनुपपत्तिः. Kincha anyat pragutpat, kincha anyat, for that kincha anyat means for the pragutpattehe shashavishanavat abhavabhutasya ghatasya swakarana satta sambandha anupatti. It's a very beautiful topic. If pot were totally non-existent, it would not have connection with the clay. Pot always comes from clay. Pot comes from clay. Why should pot come only from clay, not from water? Because pot is potentially in connection with clay. If pot is non-existent, then it need not have a particular source, it can have any source. Why should pot come only from clay, not from water, not from air, not from gold, not from this, not from that? Why? Because it is present potentially only in clay. If pot were totally non-existent, what is absolutely non-existent cannot be potentially present in what is the source. Clay is what is present. And if you say pot is absolutely non-existent, the totally non-existent pot can't be potentially there in the present. Absence cannot be there as a potential in the present. The present can't have the potential for something absent. Are you able to follow? Here Bhashikara is just laughing away the whole thing. He says the pot can't have the connection with the present. Shasha Vishanavata, like a rabbit's horn. Abhava bhutasya ghatasya, if the pot were totally non-existent like a rabbit's horn. Swakarana satta sambandha anupapattihi, to have connection with its own cause would be untenable. There is no difference between, according to you, pot is totally non-existent. ठीक है? अब थोड़ा सा ध्यान दीजिए थोड़ी देर के लिए. ये शून्यवादी, according to you, pot is totally non-existent. ठीक है. Similarly, an ornament also you would say is totally non-existent because it is created, made. Similarly, we will say a table also is totally non-existent. Okay. A chair, that means anything that is made is totally non-existent, you will say. Now, between one non-existent thing and another non-existent thing, there is no difference. Between the non-existent ornament and the non-existent pot, there should not be any difference. Because there is no difference, why should the pot require only one particular cause, not other? Why should pot require only clay, not gold or water? Why should an ornament require only gold, not water or air? Anyway, it is absent. And there should be no difference between one absent thing and another absent thing. So these creations require a particular source, which means they are present. Yes. Pot requires a particular source. Ornament requires a particular source because its potential only in the gold. Similarly, universe also requires a particular, a given source, that is the infinite, if you want to call it a given. The universe also cannot come from a small thing. It requires the infinite source. You see? But we don't experience pot coming from anything, ornament coming from anything, food coming from anything, idli coming from anything. ऐसा थोड़ी होता है. You can't make idli out of rajma. Can you make? However Punjabi you may be, Swamiji, we make everything out of khali dal. We can make idli also out of khali dal. But without rice you can't make. If you can make everything out of rajma, then you are a pakka Punjabi. If you can't, then you are diluted. I say everything cannot be made out of everything. Everything is made out of a given thing. That establishes it's not shunya. If pot is non-existent, ornament is non-existent, between one non-existent thing and another non-existent thing there should not be any difference. Anything should come from anywhere. ऐसी बात तो नहीं. Very big argument he silently gives here. किंच अन्यत् प्रागुत्पत्तेः शशविषाणवत् अभूत अभावभूतस्य घटस्य स्वकारणसत्ता संबंध अनुपत्तिः. Then द्विनिष्ठात्वात् संबंधस्य, we will complete here. Dvinishtha sambandhatvat. A relationship is always, a relationship stands in two things. Dvinishthatvat sambandhasya. If you say pot is connected with clay, then there are two things. One is the source, the other is creation. Ultimately it may be one, that is a different thing. But one is that there are two identities. One is the identity of clay, the other is identity of pot. Dvinishtha. Then alone, say it is. So it is connected to clay. To begin with, we say pot is connected to clay. Later on we will say it is clay. That is a different matter. That is all prakriya. That we make adjustments. That is not a problem. But I can't say really, a relationship cannot really stand between one existent thing and another non-existent thing. A relationship cannot really rest on one present thing and another absent thing. Both have to be present. You can't say the non-existent pot is connected to existent clay. वो नहीं हो सकता. Anyway, you are using logic, we are also losing. In fact, we are using the right logic, you are using all funny logic. Therefore, you see, a Shunyavadi was talking to one Advaitvadi. Swamiji, you are making a story or... No, there is a story in Shankar Vijaya. I don't know whether it was imagined by them, I don't know. One Shunyavadi was arguing with an Advaitvadi. And then he was arguing with the Vedanti, and at the end both get tired. Shunyavadi was so tired. And he was looking depressed. Buddhist, he was looking very depressed. Then Vedanti asked him, why are you so depressed? The argument is not over, you are not, still we can continue. You can come up with bigger arguments, you can cheer up yourself and argue further. And that Buddhist said, I am not depressed because of the argument. I have been working for, I have been wanting a son. I've been wanting a son. But somehow I am not being blessed with a son. Then Advaitavadi says, what does it matter? The son that is born is non-existent anyway. So when he is not born, he is non-existent. When he is born also, non-existent. What is the difference? So Shunya to hai. Why do you want to have a non-existent son? He told him, I say, there is no such a thing called non-existence. Everything is, manifestly is, unmanifestly is, eternally is. If you can capture this, you have covered, you have captured the heart and soul of Vedanta. Yes. There is no absence. Manifestly present, manifestly present, eternally present. Gaudapada Karikakara says in this, in Karika, when you are looking at the world, you are manifestly present. You are a Bahishprajna. When you close your eyes and remember thoughts, you live with the thoughts, memories, you are Antaprajna. And when you have no memories also, you are Ghana Prajna, you are peaceful, just peaceful. You are neither seeing the object nor remembering it. Then you are Ghana Prajna. And if you capture, if you register the fact, you are aware of the object, you are also someone whose identity is being aware of all the three states. I am the one who is the witness of the objects, witness of the thoughts, and witness also of their absence, meaning their resolution. Then you are Prapanchopashamaha. You are Turiyam. Are you able to follow? Bahishprajna, Antaprajna, Ghanaprajna, Turiyam. You are Turiyam, you are there with the objects, you are there with the thoughts, you are there without them also. You never have any absence. What about them? They also don't have absence. Neither they appear in you or they resolve in you. As related to you, they are present. They are unrelated to you, they are yourself. They are yourself, they are present as you. Either wave is present as a creation in water, or when it subsides, it is present as water. When is wave absent? Wave is present either as a creation in water or as water. Therefore here Bhagavan says, Nishthatvat Sambandhasya. There can't be a connection between the present and the absent. If you say pot is connected to the clay, then clay is present, pot is also present. If you say gold is connected to, ornament is connected to gold, then both are present. If you say the universe is present, the universe is connected to the source, then both are present. But you can't say the universe is connected to its absence, because the present cannot be connected to absence. Number one, nor absence can be connected to another absence. Only two presents can be connected to each other. Bahut bada argument hai. And tomorrow we are going to have great terminology. Yuta Siddhatvam, Ayuta Siddhatvam. And don't get scared. There is nothing in it. But we will see. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The last Thursday will be the last class. Friday, Saturday, Sunday there will be no class, because I have got, Chaturdashi problem. So I have to travel on Thursday. Hari Om Ji, Hari Om.